distribute a little amount of money across the roads. Some of the contractors were able to go on site. Then in this financial year, which has just ended 2023-2024, the budget provision initially was 73 billion. Then supplementary budgets came in, cut that amount up to 51 billion. By the end of that financial year, on 30th of June 2024, which is a few weeks ago, the ministry only had received 25 billion, a half of the disbursements of the budgetary allocation. What does that mean? For the 2 years I've been in office, in terms of budget allocation and disbursement, the actual money that came to the ministry to chase the road portfolio of 150 billion then was only about 50 billion. And Mr. Speaker, when the 50 billion was paid, of course the contractors incurred another pending bill. That moved it to, again, 165 billion. So as we sit here, we have a pending bill of 165 billion for all the road contracts across the country. That explains why most of the questions that I'm going to now read, the answer as supplied to this House, the answers are majorly, we will complete when funding is provided. We have gone to a new financial year with another budget of another 50 billion, Mr. Speaker, to chase another 165, and therefore we are not even sure whether there will be a disbursement that is commensurate to the resources we want by the end of this financial year. It therefore means, from a ministry perspective, unless from the Treasury and Parliament through budget, we have a drastic decision-making for a one-off payment of the contractors of the 165 billion, we will be lying to the nation, and I will continue being that minister being accused if we lie to the nation that we are going to complete these roads in time in the absence of a drastic change in the budgeting process. It is even, the situation is made worse because, Mr. Speaker, of the misfortune of the failure of the finance bill. That means we stagnate around here because government, to be able to plug in the 49 billion, that is a gap, and to look for other resources to do this becomes a big challenge. The answers, Mr. Speaker, now when I read will move a bit faster because all the answers, most of the answers to the questions asked here are related to non-existence of budgetary allocation for the roads to be done. It is the state of the nation, it's the state of the ministry, it's the state of our roads. And it's important that for the last 2 years, why this government has been accused of miscommunication is, Mr. Speaker, because we have tried to behave like an African father who does not want to tell his children the exact state of his pocket in the hope that in the fullness of time, you will get something and you will satisfy your children. Unfortunately, the impatience of your children can easily eat you because you've been trying to hide the truth of what it is. I have decided, Mr. Speaker, that we lay it bare so that the people of Kenya know the state of their infrastructure, the state of their accounts, their budgets, so that then they will know whether they will be ready to make sacrifices in other sectors to complete the roads. And Mr. Speaker, the last statement I was going to make on this issue is that this is a systemic, historic problem because some of you who are sitting now here, who are in National Assembly, you kept, for example, in our Jubilee administration, which I gladly also were part of it, but I sat in this House. You kept doing the things you did in National Assembly by increasing the number of roads and approving a budget for roads without a clear plan of how will these roads be completed before you start a new one. That is why this administration also, when we came to office, we made it clear to the country that we are not going to start new projects until we complete the projects that are in place, because this disease was going to be carried forward continuously, year in, year out, and we were living a lie. And that's why we must confront the reality on the ground. Now, therefore, Mr. Speaker, I will go straight to respond to the question number 45. Mr. Speaker, the delay in the completion of Wang-Arod-Kamito Road and the Maseno-Kombewa-Kalandini Road D245 and Maseno Town Roads RWC 119 projects were caused by the contractor's withdrawal from the site due to the severe financial distress from the accumulation of the pending bills. The current pending bill for this project is Kenya shillings 203 million shillings, 476,681.90 cents, and the allocated budget for the last financial year, which has just ended, has been exhausted with a payment of only 56 million shillings, 370,000. The budget for the project for this coming financial year, Mr. Speaker, is 70 million. You can see even the budget for this financial year coming is 70 million, still chasing the balance of the 203 million, which is the pending bill. Meanwhile, the ministry is engaging the contractor to prioritize maintenance work to ensure motorability at affected sections ahead of the full resumption of the works. Mr. Speaker, number 2, the delay in the completion of Bondo, Uyawi, Kibanga, Liunda Beach Road, which is C843 road project, is due to the contractor's withdrawal from the site, citing delays in payment of interim payment certificates for the certified works. Mr. Speaker, the ministry through KERA has engaged the contractor to resume works following partial payment on the previously owed amounts. The contractor has committed to mobilize and resume operations to ensure the project's completion as modalities are put in place to clear the outstanding amount of Kenya shillings 33,777,596 and 69 cents. In the last financial year, the contractor was paid 61,171,999 out of the allocated 70,800,000. And the ministry aims to clear the balance in the next tranche of disbursement from the National Treasury. The upgrading to bitumen standards and performance-based maintenance of the Gotnanga, Jera, Bar, Ober, D1853 road project is currently at 20% progress, with 2.35 kilometers of tarmac completed out of the contracted 12 kilometers. The project's delay was previously caused by inadequate budgetary allocation, leading to payment delays and the contractor's withdrawal from the site. The contractor has since resumed full operations following the payment of all the pending bills in November 2023. The project is anticipated to be completed in the financial year 2024-2025, this financial year, subject to the appraisal of the contractor's application for an extension of time. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Cabinet Secretary. We'll go straight to the next question, number 50 by Senator Mugeni Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question 050. One, CS, why are there no essential road safety features, including proper markings, signage, rumble strips, and speed bumps on the Metamayua, Mecheo, Chebingombe, Nyansiongo Road? Two, could the CS also explain the inordinate delay in completing the construction of the Nyagaita Bridge along the Metamayua-Mosovet-Kebirigo Road, which was commissioned 10 years ago? Three, could the CS explain what steps has the ministry taken to ensure the timely resolution of the aforementioned concerns by the people of the great county of Nyamira? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to respond as follows. Outstanding works remain on the project for the upgrading to bitumen standards and performance-based routine maintenance of the Kijauri, Nyansiongo, Raitigo, Metamayua Road. The contractor, China Far East Construction Group Limited, withdrew from the site due to severe financial distress from the significant amount owed by him, amounting to 856,981,424. I am cognizant of the fact that the outstanding works are critical for safe usage of the road and constitute installation of tertiary road features such as the road furniture, speed bumps, road markings, and signage. It is noteworthy that during road construction, the sequence of activities is such that the works start with the earthworks, followed by pavement works, and the tertiary features are attended to last. Unfortunately, the contractor in this case withdrew from before carrying out the tertiary works as a result of the aforementioned financial distress. Mr. Speaker, this has become also a problem for us in the road safety site. The questions Kenya are asking, and then again, using this answer, it's across the country. Because all the roads which are pending are partially done, then and the sequencing of how to construct these roads requires that you finish first before you start road furniture and markings. Then the people of Kenya are suffering because, there are no bumps in the areas they are asking, there are no markings because the contractor is not on site and because the work has not been finished. So it's a double jeopardy when it comes to the question of you don't have the road completed and you don't have the safety on the road because of the markings. Mr. Speaker, the Matemaiwa, Mosobeti, Kebiringo Road, B5 was constructed through the stage construction approach, and the Nyagaita Bridge was not part of the project scope due to funding limitations at the time. The ministry acknowledges that the bridge requires extension to accommodate increased traffic volumes following the completion of the road projects. As an interim measure to improve safety, guardrails were installed on the bridge, along with the construction of rumble strips and speed bumps at the approaches to calm traffic accessing the bridge. Number 3, regarding the Kijauri, Nyasiongo, Raitigo, Metemaiwa Road, the contractor is under instructions to carry out the necessary works as detailed in the substantial completion inspection report. This will be subjected to final completion inspection before the contractor is discharged from the project. However, the contractor has not attended to the outstanding works to date and has since withdrawn from the site due to the aforementioned financial distress. The ministry is pursuing funding options in consultation with the National Treasury to find viable financing solutions to pay a significant portion of the outstanding payment for this and other similar stalled projects to facilitate the completion of outstanding works. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, CS, for that response. I believe, Honorable Omogeni, you've got a supplementary question to that, which, well, I grant you the opportunity to proceed.
Yes, thank you, Bwana CS, for your response. But Bwana CS, through Mr. Speaker, you note that in your response you have said the outstanding works are critical for the safe usage of that particular road. And I want to bring to your attention, CS, that already we have lost about close to 10 people along that stretch of that road. So this is a matter that is very, very critical if we are to attain the safe usage of that road by the residents of Nyamira. Is there any urgent measures you can put in place to ensure that these remaining works are done during this financial year, going by the government policy of completing projects that are already ongoing before we deal with the new ones, noting that there is not even one single bus stop along that road. There are no bumps anywhere in the whole of that stretch, Mr. Bwana CS. And to the Nyagaita Bridge, you note that that is a high volume road. The bridge I'm mentioning is really a makeshift. It's a makeshift. That's the road we use to transport our tea, a key economic activity in the county of Nyamira. Can I get an assurance from the CS that that can be done within this financial year? That has been pending for more than 10 years. The road was launched, commissioned, but that bridge is a big hindrance on the transportation.
Every milestone is complete. That means if you have a 10 kilometers and a milestone is 1 kilometer, are given kilometers of roads based on the budgetary allocation. So we will look at that widely, but in the meantime, we will try to do some signage and perhaps bumps. On part of the bridge, let me see. There's something we're trying to do, Mr. Speaker. The reason why also maintenance money is becoming difficult to get ways of apportioning money from the road maintenance levy is because we have reached our limit. At the moment, our road network has increased by 61,000 kilometers from 2016. The road maintenance levy fund that we have now, their value at the moment has depreciated because the power of the shilling at that point in time in 2016 is not the same power of the shilling today, yet we still collect 18 shillings per litre. We had a very good public participation about increasing the road maintenance levy by 7 shillings so that at least we raise some money to do this maintenance, which is another problem across the country. Roads, for example, like Isibania to Kisii, the period for construction by the contractor to construct and maintain is now over. So it needs to be handed over to Kenya and a number of other roads that were constructed during the development partners. The people of Kenya have told us, yes, we want the roads, yes, you can get the money, but not at transferring the cost of the pump by 7 shillings up, because they don't want the cost of living, because fuel also creates a problem across the sector. So we are now sitting, because we finished the public presentation on Monday, and go and sit together with the Petroleum Department to see, is there ways that some other levies or so forth can be foregone or something, so that we concentrate first on raising money for the roads. But as we do so, I think we will now see how we support your bridge. If we succeed in this endeavor, which I am hoping that we can do in 2 months or so, we will have additional resources a little bit, and we can save such bridges because of the danger and the problem it's causing the country. Right? And I want to thank the senior counsel, my friend Senator Murkomen, because he's also been harassing me on the same issue in my office, and really, truly, it means this is something that means a lot to him and his constituents. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Cabinet Secretary. We'll take one supplementary question. Senator John Kinyo, is it in regards to this question? Okay, go ahead.
Asanti Bwana Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii. Asanti waziri kwa kuja na kuweka maneno pariwanja kulingana na vile ambavyo wizara yako iko na mambo ya barabara. Lakini swali langu ni kwamba nimesikia ukisema ya kwamba ulikisia utapata shilingi bilioni 165, ukapata shilingi bilioni 50. Na kuna zile barabara ambazo zinatengenezwa. Bwana waziri, unachagua vipi barabara ambayo utakayoitengeneza na ni gani ambayo hutaitengeneza? Ni masuala gani ambayo unaangalia? Ile ilianziwa kitambo, ile ambayo ina shughuli fulani, ama ni nini ambayo unaangazia? Kwa sababu nimesikia ukisema ya kwamba seneta wa kutoka Nyamira amekuwa kija kwako kwa ofisi. Mimi nimekuwa nikija kwako kwa ofisi. Najua maseneta wengi wamekuwa kija kwako kwa ofisi. Na hela ambazo uko nazo unasema hazitoshi. Sijui ni mbinu gani unatumia, ni kusema ya kwamba utatengeneza barabara moja katika sehemu ya Laikipia, ile nyingine utatengeneza katika sehemu ya Nyeri, ama ni yule ambaye atakaye kuja kwa ofisi yako mara nyingi, ama ni yule atakaye kupigia simu mara nyingi, ama ni rafiki yako, ama sijui niseme namna gani, lakini nataka utuelezee. Na nashukuru kwa sababu umeweka mambo pariwanja vile ambavyo Wakenya wangetaka, ndio wajue ya kwamba hela ambazo uko nazo na unazitumia vipi. Nashukuru Bwana Spika.
Asante Senator. Yes.
Bwana Spika, ningependa kusema kwanza kwamba katika bajeti ya barabara uwezo haiko katika mikono peke yake ya wizara. Bajeti inafanywa ama inapitishwa na bunge la kitaifa. Na wakati tunapitisha hiyo bajeti, Bwana Spika, hiyo bajeti inakuja kama tayari iko na hela zote, barabara gani itapewa hela ngapi. Kwa kimombo wanaita itemized budget. Wakati bajeti inapitishwa kama ile ilipitishwa hapo majuzi, ile schedule ambayo inapitisha ama ile daftari inaonyesha pesa zenye zinatumika, tayari inaweka barabara zote, kila barabara pesa zake. Ukiona zile barabara nilisoma hapo awali, nilionyesha wazi kwamba barabara fulani ilikuwa na bajeti kiasi hii, barabara fulani iko na bajeti kiasi hii, kiasi kwamba hata wakati huu, wakati hiyo schedule itakapotolewa kutoka treasury, pengine muda wote kutoka sasa, kila Mkenya atakuwa na uwezo ya kuangalia ni pesa ngapi iko kwa barabara yenye iko katika sehemu ama kaunti fulani. Ya swali la Mheshimiwa Kinywa, ile la kwanza ni la maana sana, lakini pia ni la kisiasa. Kisiasa kiasi ni it's a political decision. It's a policy political decision. Kwa sababu Mr. Speaker, kwa kuchanganya lugha, ni kwamba saa hizi ukisimama hapa useme katika wizara, kwa sababu tumepewa tu 58% ya ile fedha tunahitaji kumaliza barabara. Wacha niamue leo tuanzie Elgeyo Marakwet, tumalize barabara za Elgeyo Marakwet mwaka huu, ndio mwaka kesho tuende za Nyeri, alafu tuende ya Garissa, kutakuwa na mvurutano kubwa sana katika taifa. Ndiposa unaona katika bajeti, hata katika bunge, kila mtu anapewa kidogo kidogo, kwa sababu ile milestone ifanywe katika kila step ya kila barabara. Kwa hivyo, allow me to repeat this, Mr. Speaker, in English, that many Kenyans are saying, why don't you take the little money? This year we are getting 25 billion out of we got last financial year, we got 25 billion out of a budgeted 51 billion, out of a need of a pending bill of 165 billion. So the people of Kenya are saying, yes, you need 165, but why don't you take the 25 billion, finish Rironi Road from Wayaki to Rironi, and complete the interchanges, and they pay the contractor, or finish this road and do this. Mr. Speaker, that decision is not tenable politically for so many leaders and parliament itself when they are doing budget, because they want to make sure that every part of the country, their contractor is taking steps. The second and most difficult problem is that if you do not make an attempt to continue paying the contractors, the problem that will come in is that you are worsening the interest, okay? And some contractors will leave now site completely, and they will take action, legal action against the ministry and the agency. Therefore, to return them will become difficult. So for the 2 years, I have become a negotiator of some sort, at least thanks to my political and legal training. I have to call a contractor and say, we are paying you 20% of your required amount, but please go to site. We will try our best to make a case. And we are still doing so, and we believe that perhaps before the end of this year, we will have made a step to solve this problem. Mr. Speaker, if I may, I know it's not within my purview, if I may request, because all the questions are almost the same on the roads, if we, with your indulgence, if we would answer all the questions asked in the book, and then all supplementary questions come once, it may be useful so that we can combine those that are similar. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well, Cabinet Secretary. But before we proceed to the next question, Senator Beatrice Ogola, my apologies, we did not give you an opportunity to ask a supplementary question on question number 45. Do you have a supplementary question on Senator Oburu's?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you for making that consideration. My supplementary question, based on the questions that the Honorable Dr. Buru asked, were on the timelines. But I remember the CS had mentioned some timelines on the two questions. But my other concern, CS, is that you've talked about the inadequacies with our finances, which we all know. Then what happens then with the massive problems we have on our roads after the massive floods that just ended? That is now a general question, but it points to the inadequate finances you are talking about, and yet all over the country, not specific to Siaya now, we have broken roads after the floods. Thank you.
Cabinet Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. In brief, so that I save time, this question is very important, Honorable Senator, but it goes to the other question about road maintenance levy, because restoration of the floods, roads affected by the floods, is actually maintenance. And from the maintenance kitty, I had already explained myself that we are running low or short of resources to be able to do so. So the best thing for us is, as I responding to Senator Murkomen earlier, I said that if we make a case and succeed to get some resources enhanced, we will then be able to deal with this floods mitigation in terms of the roads. The assessment we did after the floods, both for the El Nino and these ones that happened early this year, is that we need 37 billion shillings to restore, just to restore to where the stage where they were, which is a very big issue for us and a big challenge for the ministry. But that will be resolved a little bit or mitigated a little bit if we were going to get something from an enhanced road maintenance levy collection.
Thank you, Cabinet Secretary. We go to the next question, question number 58 by Senator Professor Tom Ujenda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question number 58, addressed to the Cabinet Secretary Roads and Transport, is on Kenya Airways. Specifically, Mr. Speaker, to what extent is the government's involvement in the operational matters of KQ, specifically regarding the protection and welfare of staff? Part B, could the Cabinet Secretary provide details of KQ staff that have lost their employment as a result of redundancies and retrenchment since 2010, and explain what necessitated the workforce reductions? Part C, was the procedure followed during the exercise lawful, and could the CS indicate whether all benefits due to the affected staff have or were paid? D, how many retrenchment cases by the organization have been found to be against the law? And could the Cabinet Secretary state the number of retrenched staff re-employed by KQ, if any, and what informed the decision? Lastly, Mr. Speaker, sir, what impact has court pronouncements through judgments had on job redundancies by KQ and retrenchment policy practices and the attendant send-off packages at KQ? I beg, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you very much, Senator. Cabinet Secretary, because of time, I will use the standing orders to extend this sitting for a further 15 minutes so that you can conclude question number 58.
Thank you. So, Speaker, let me say that unfortunately, I may not be able to meet the expectations of the Senior Counsel and Honorable Senator, because the government of Kenya holds a significant stake in Kenya Airways, approximately 48.9% of the shares. It is represented on the board of Kenya Airways through the National Treasury and our Ministry of Transport. However, operational matters, including those related to protection and welfare of staff, are primarily the responsibility of the Kenya Airways itself. These operational issues are typically addressed and managed by the management and leadership of Kenya Airways. Kenya Airways is not really a parastatal per se, where we have proper access to all this information, Mr. Speaker, and I do not want to commit myself to answers that they would write to me, because then the interrogation would have to come to this minister and would have to answer. The best way forward, we suggest from the ministry, is to invite Kenya Airways as Kenya Airways, so that they take responsibility as Kenya Airways, preferably, Mr. Speaker, to a committee, so that these issues can be dealt with comprehensively. I thank you.
Thank you, Cabinet Secretary. Senator Ojenda.
As the minister has indicated, obviously his response is unsatisfactory. I will, Mr. Speaker, sir, in view of the response that the minister circulated on the need to interrogate Kenya Airways, the question of shareholding arises the law. I note that government has 48% shareholding, but there is the other question of the public interest that also arises, and that creates an obligation. I will visit the minister and share with him some precedents on this question, even as I will then come back. I'll make sure he comes back to answer the question, because he cannot run away from the problem of Kenya Airways.
Thank you, Senator. Honorable Senator, since we've extended the sitting for another 15 minutes, Senator Munyahaji, we are not taking any supplementary questions at the moment. We'll take supplementary questions at the end. That's what we've agreed. We are going to the next question. There's no point of order. Senator Osoti. Sorry? What is your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, you know we have so many questions to ask the Cabinet Secretary, and the time is very limited. I am seeing a situation where the Cabinet Secretary is taking too much time trying to explain, and yet he has a written response. So I think he will save on time if he focuses on the written response, and then we can create time for supplementary questions.
Senator Osotsi, the Cabinet Secretary has not actually spent a lot of time on the written response. He's been actually very brief. So anyways, because of time, well, let's go to the next question, which is actually raised by you, Senator Osotsi. If you could ask question number 59, so that we can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, the Cabinet Secretary, for appearing to answer my question. I want to ask question number 59, and it reads, could the Cabinet Secretary provide the criteria used by the Kenya Rural Roads Authority, KERA, in the allocation of funds to counties for the period April to June 2024, and explain why only 4 counties, including Vihiga County and Garissa County, where you come from, Mr. Speaker, were left out in the allocation. Number 2, what measures have been put in place by the ministry to ensure that KERA funds are not misappropriated through skewed procurement and political interference in the awarding of road construction contract? And this, Mr. Speaker, mainly touches on the 10% and 22%. Number 3, what steps is the ministry taking to eliminate duplicity in awarding contracts for the construction and maintenance of rural roads and avert misappropriation of funds? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Cabinet Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to respond as follows. The allocation of funds to counties is defined by the provisions of the Kenya Roads Act 2007, where 22% of the roads maintenance levy fund is allocated for the maintenance of constituency roads and the 10% for maintenance of link roads between constituencies. These allocations are shared equally across all the 290 constituencies in the 47 counties, with variations only resulting from the number of constituencies per county. Consequently, the funds disbursed to counties in the period in question constituted a second tranche of the 10% of road maintenance levy fund allocation shared equally as outlined above. Vihiga County received 20 million in this tranche, being 44 million per constituency. Enclosed are the details of the allocations to each county for 10% RMLF as Appendix 1 and 22% RMLF as Appendix 2. The local areas. Allocated funds should be enough to address the particular challenge and realize value for money, as a thin spread funds would result in ineffective allocation with little to show from the spread. The procurement of roadworks in KERA, number 2, the procurement of roadworks in KERA adheres to the Public Procurement and Asset Disposals Act, PPDA 2015, as amended in 2022, including PPDA regulations of 2020. Key controls in line with PPDA 2015 include open tendering for the roadworks, restricted tendering through a pre-qualified list, publishing all tenders on the authority's website and the Public Procurement Information Portal, PPIP, strict adherence to awarding at least 30% of the contracts to special groups in line with ACPO. 3, to prevent duplicity in roadworks, the ministry undertakes several measures. A, sharing annual roadworks program with all relevant agencies, including county governments. B, ensuring adequate consultation with county governments when roads under their purview are prioritized by the Constituency Roads Committee for maintenance works and entering into memorandum of understanding as applicable. C, notifying the public through various platforms, including media channels and public boards, about ongoing project scope of works, and contractor details and other salient information. Number D is conducting internal audit and rigorous quality control measures, including material testing, to ensure that there is value for money. And E, collaborating with statutory and regulatory entities responsible for oversight and monitoring of roadworks, including technical auditors, parliamentary committees, and the Office of Auditor General, to ensure prudent utilization of public resources. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Osotsi, supplementary question.
Thank you, Cabinet Secretary, for your answer. But looking at the first part of the question, which talks about the allocation of funds to the counties between April and June 2024. The Cabinet Secretary is a bit general on this matter. I would have thought that he will bring a list of all the counties and what was allocated. Because the list I have, it indicates that money for the maintenance of road, and this is outside the RMLF, that was allocated within that period, 4 counties, including Vihiga County and your county, Mr. Speaker, were left out. So this is the list I would wish the Cabinet Secretary to make reference to, and not the roads maintenance levy fund, which, as we know, it is at 22%, and also the 10%, which is for maintenance of roads that link constituencies. So I'm referring to that listing of funds which were given to the counties between April and June. That indicates that my county got nil. Number 2, the answers to question 2 and 3, Mr. Speaker, that is the best case scenario. But Mr. Speaker, we know that the carer funds, which are under the management of members of parliament, are misappropriated. And that's a fact. And this is something that we discussed the whole of last week and this week. The 22% and the 10%. So the answer there, as much as it looks very good, but the situation on the ground, Vitukwa ground, is different. Number 3, Mr. Speaker, the issue of duplicity in road maintenance and construction. This is a serious problem, Mr. Speaker, that county puts money on a road, the member of parliament puts the money on that same road, and in some places even the MCA, the same road, and the carer, the same road. And you end up having a situation where public money is misused. So the answer given by the Cabinet Secretary to me is not adequate, and the Cabinet Secretary needs to go on the ground to get the real facts about this problem, which we all know as senators. It's happening in our counties. So, Mr. Speaker, the answers given by the Cabinet Secretary is very inadequate.
Thank you,
and
sir.
I expected that the Cabinet Secretary, having been a senator in this House, would respond very well to question number 2 and number 3.
Thank
Because
you,
these
Senator.
are challenges we go through, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Cabinet Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, the truth is that every constituency gets enough, the same money from carer, exactly the same. Last year, last financial year, 62 million for every constituency in the Republic, because the law itself, the Kenya Road Sports Act 207, Section 6, makes it mandatory to that it be shared equally across the country. So Vihiga gets its fair share of its constituency. How it is advertised is different for every constituency at different time, depending on the constituency roads committees, meetings, and so forth. So you would have picked the period, under the answer I gave, you picked a period where there was an advert going out for that county with many other counties across the country in relation to that only figure. But cumulatively, when you finish the financial year, depending on how the planning was done for every constituency, it will eventually lead to 62 million shillings. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, I don't think it is, the last time I was in this House before I left, and I still think it is the same, it is not right to impute improper motive to the other chamber. It is for the committee and good working relationship with 2 chambers of parliament. It is important not to generalize a debate about National Assembly and the Senate. And therefore, because, Mr. Speaker, even when my eyes are thrown around the House, I see 3 former members of National Assembly who managed constituencies and worked with the Constituency Roads Committee, Honorable Omenen, Honorable Tobiko, Honorable Gisang, All of them have a good history about how the carer works with constituencies. And Honorable Abbas also is here. So by and large, and as we progress, there are more people who are coming from National Assembly to work here, and there are people who live here to find themselves in National Assembly, and I know a number of them when we work together, and then others who become governors, as I suspect the Honorable Member is one of the suspects. So, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, this kind of arrangement requires us to make sure that we find our ways. In fact, Mr. Speaker, when I came here first to this chamber, I used to have a problem with CDF and money going to constituency. But as I progressed towards the second term, I asked myself, is it better to go to my constituency, say Marakwet East, where I come from, and go and fight with the Constituency Roads Committee people I know and fight with the MP? Or is it better for me to centralize all resources to Nairobi so that I come and fight in Nairobi with so many other people? And I told myself, decentralization, even for resources that remain with national government, using this method where the money goes to the constituency, is easier for me to go and deal with characters on the ground whom I know and hold them into account than to keep the money at the headquarters here and shroud it with a lot of mystery. And I worked very well with my honorable members, including Senator Kisang here, in a way that we've made sure that the CDF funds schools, funds classes, in a way that mitigates this issue of marginalization across the country. Mr. Speaker, I agree with Honorable Otsotsi on one thing, Senator Otsotsi, that the problem of duplication is real. But, Mr. Speaker, it's not general. It's specific to certain areas, and it's a problem we are grappling with, even with the ministry. And what we have done is to make sure that we sign MOUs with counties that request carer that you can maintain these roads. We have also expedited the process of graduating the roads from through Kenya Roads Boards, handed over from counties to national government and gazetted, so that if we find counties still maintaining a road that is already gazetted at national level, it becomes now easy for the Auditor General to point out this issue of double allocation. This area, especially in marginalized counties, this area of allocation of devolved roads money is still a little bit, the accountability is not up to date, and it's something we are working with on the minister, and it's good to acknowledge as it is, but it's not general in such a way that I would say even Vihiga is a victim. What Senator Osotsi can help me do is that in cases where there is an actual evidence that this is happening in this place, he can give me the information, even if it is not publicly, privately, because I don't need to fight with the MP. The regional manager or the regional director of the agency carer, we will hold him into account. I don't know the MP and I don't know the committees that are happening there. Eventually, the responsibility is with the regional director, and that's the person I will hold into account, that the money is allocated to where they have told us it's allocated. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, CS. Next question, question number 58 by Senator Professor Tom Ojenda.
Mr. Speaker, question number question number 61 to the CS Cabinet Secretary, Roads and Transport. Mr. Speaker, this question is in 5 parts. Part 1, is the ministry currently undertaking real-time mapping of all roads, bridges, and other transport infrastructure affected by the April-May 2024 unprecedented rains and floods? And if so, could the CS roads provide a list of all affected transport infrastructure across the country? B, what flood mitigation measures are required to bring each affected infrastructure to a state where it can withstand the rains and floods, especially in Lamu, currently being witnessed in the country, and what are the budgetary implications of such improvements? C, could the Cabinet Secretary outline the obligations of the national government vis-a-vis those of the county governments regarding the reconstruction of each transport infrastructure affected by floods? D, what long-term measures are being implemented to address the poor drainage system throughout the major cities and towns, bearing in mind Narok, ensuring that such occurrences do not repeat in the future, and what are the budgetary implications of these actions? Lastly, Mr. Speaker, sir, what steps are being taken to compensate victims of past transport infrastructure engineering that resulted in changes in the path and course of various rivers, hence the flooding of some homes and human settlements that naturally were not in the path of those rivers, taking into account Nairobi River? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Cabinet Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I confirm that the ministry, through its road agencies, is actively undertaking real-time monitoring and mapping of infrastructure affected by the unusually heavy rains during the period of April, May 2024, as well as the El Nino rains of October to December 2023. This initiative aims to facilitate timely repair and reconstruction efforts. The detailed report on the observed damage to our transport infrastructure is presented herewith. The required mitigation measures vary depending on the structure and type of road pavement. Road structures such as bridges and culverts are designed to handle abnormal flows over specific return period without incurring damage. To carry out the necessary reinstatement works, comprehensive hydrological and hydraulic studies are conducted to inform the redesign of the structures. Subsequently, the required works include the reinstatement of structures, enhancement of drainage systems, protection of works, rebuilding of embankments, and redesign of road pavement and alignments. The proposed budget to facilitate these activities is annexed here with Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, according to 4th schedule of the Constitution, the national government is responsible for the construction and operation of national trunk roads and set standards of construction and maintenance of roads by both national and county government. The county government is responsible for the construction and operation of county roads. From this, it is evident that the national government ensures that national trunk roads meet the required standards for safety, durability, and resilience against the natural disasters such as floods. In setting standards for counties, the national government provides technical expertise, guidance on materials, construction methods, and maintenance practices to be followed by county governments. The county government, on the other hand, ensures accessibility and maintains roads to passable and safe for all users. Both levels of government must collaborate in assessing and planning the reconstruction and infrastructure affected by floods and instituting flood mitigation measures. Number 4, the ministry is currently reviewing its road design manuals to incorporate flood mitigation design principles, ensuring more resilient infrastructure capable of withstanding climate change challenges. The securing of waterways is ongoing to support this very important initiative.
Cabinet Secretary, thank you for appearing. Just as a point of information, the SPC has indicated that the remaining questions shall be deferred to next week. So I hope we will have you again. That's how much we like you, Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you.
We'll have you again next week to appear in this House. Honorable Senators, it is now 1:15 p.m. Having concluded the business of which I extended the hours of sitting pursuant to Standing Order 34-2A, the Senate stands adjourned until today, Wednesday, 10th July 2024 at 2:30 p.m.